So this is Sam from Syndromia. Um, it's been a while since I put anything out. It's been about 3 years. At the time, I was dealing with a lot of issues. Uh, Divorce, financial situations, as well as going to school, which I graduated last year, uh, in October last year, with the recording arts degree, which is a major in audio engineering and a minor in audio production. It's also a bachelor's of science degree. Got a really high GPA in that, taking that degree program. I also learned how to master better, different ways of doing it, which mastering is a lot of fun to me because you're finishing a final project, but it has also a lot to do with the fact that it's not mixing. It's more of enhancing a final mix and making it ready for distribution. I'm currently remastering Cybernetic Pandemic. Uh, I know that I talked to a really famous producer who was telling me that I should put newer stuff out there since it's been a while, not really remastering any of the older tracks because that's not what fans want, which I completely agree. But like I said, I was dealing with a lot of stress at school because Full Sail is every class is like a month long and it's fast. I mean, there's like some works that I have to do in some classes are just ridiculous amounts of work. And then on top of dealing with things don't really want to get into, like my drinking problem, which I had encountered that again before I started going to those meetings and changing my life around. Started towards the end of my degree program, probably around fall of last year. Started to pick up as an issue. So don't really want people to know that, but it is one of the things that was setting me back in putting albums out there and working on a different type of artist name of mine, where there is going to be different types of plugins I'm using, different DAW, FL, which I'm not really a fan of. All this stuff's done in Reason, as you can see back here, for a lot of the Syndromia albums. So the thing is I've been working in mixing other stuff for people and other things like auditing a class at Full Sail for audio production. Been doing that, trying to learn how to comp vocals. I really have an issue with that. I'm not like a super master at doing any type of audio edits in any DAW. I'm more about producing, mixing, and trying to get more into mastering. But I will be putting those albums out. It'll be an incredibly big difference to Cybernetic Pandemic. I'm also using a newer version of synths. Everyone asked me, it's like the first day it came out, it was last year, are you using Serum 2? Answer to that question is I am going to get around to it. I might even do a video about Serum 2, the difference between that and 1. I haven't really got into that. I do know if you have 1 and you paid for it, 2 is free. It's been about almost 8-9 years since the person who made it put anything out. But I am currently trying to work more of dealing with other artists. I had a hip-hop artist I was working with. It wasn't working out in the studio. They were using Ableton, recording engineer. And I got a video of it. I'm like, okay, don't know how to use Ableton. Don't know how to comp vocals very well. But I do know multiple DAWs. Reason, Logic, FL, Pro Tools, Sequoia, and Quota Pro. Ableton is, I think it's amazing. I've seen a lot of recording engineers use it. I knew a EDM artist that was using Ableton to do a lot of his recordings in. Yeah, a really good producer of mine that I know, a friend, Ben Ballard. If you can look him up on on the internet, he's really good at producing artists and singers. I mean, really great producer. Very serious too. I can upload some videos of me working with him a little bit. but just been busy, dealing with the divorce and picking up the bottle, which was a really big setback for me at the time. So I'm going to be putting more stuff out there in the future, but I'm currently remastering stuff. For those of you who do audio, I was using a nonlinear phase EQ or minimum phase EQ on my master fader to do kind of like mastering, since I'm not doing it in Sequoia. And I found out that I was having phasing issues with that. Mix sounded okay, but it wasn't, phantom center wasn't really there. Too much stereo whiting, which was explained to me in school about that. So I'm using Isotope Zone 9, which is older, for the mastering plugin, using a stereo whiter, a multi-band compressor on the master fader, and working with a multi-session track rather than doing it as a stereo bounce. I also have, if you can see back here, the personas are blown. They look great as a display. I got the Yamaha HS5s when I was in a recording studio last year with a guy who was using Ableton. He had the Yamaha HS8s. Wish I would have bought those, because I think they're pretty good. I'm going to probably put out more videos about audio gear, hardware, software-wise, what also some of the popular synthwave artists are using, like Turbo Knight, which I've talked to before. Cool guy. He definitely swears a lot. There's also Midnight Danger, who explained to me a little bit about how he does his drums and what synths that he particularly uses. No really big secrets with those guys. It's just kind of like they're not really workflow, but they're preferred plugins. A lot of them are using Atmosphere. I mean, I can tell. Have used Atmosphere before, but don't use them on any of the Syndromia albums, particularly. But I do use, UHE type synths, Tone 2. I use Serum, Silence, and Icarus. A lot of those synths. High quality stuff, not cheap stuff. We're talking about like $300, maybe $500 for just one synthesizer with the digital VSTs. Currently working in desktop, so I'm using the ASIO drivers, of course, not using Audio Core for Mac, which is so much better sound drivers. The Mac that they gave me from school, which is right over here, it's got Logic up right now. So I'm gonna get around to that. I mean, for my fans who listen to my music, I greatly appreciate that. Especially Justin, Full Sail graduate, music producer, ran into him a couple times, knew me from the internet, great guy. It's like, people ask when's your next album, and it's like it's been like 3 years dealing with stuff like that. I was also dealing with medical issues. I developed a heart condition, broken heart syndrome, a lot of stress in my life. It's a arrhythmia thing. Also need to have surgery on my neck from a deployment injury in Afghanistan in 2011. And got a hiatal hernia, need surgery for that. Just been really having a lot of stuff hit on me really bad. Came out here 3 years ago. Ashley, friend of mine, 3 years, veteran, lost her memory, had deep feelings for her, loved her, couldn't deal with that. Year before that, watched my grandmother die in the hospital for COVID pneumonia. 3 years were hard when I was going to school, problems in my marriage, stuff like that. Just tell a lot of people kind of like why I haven't put out stuff in 3 years. Albums are made production-wise, mix-wise, mastering needs to be redone and worked on. Not too much of a big deal, not a big setback. It's just a lot going on in the past 3 years. Was working on a lot of audio stuff at school, other people's stuff. Nothing of my own at the time. There was Synthian that came out, which some of you might have heard of as a different artist name. Problem with that one was mixing in FL is not a good idea. Other thing is producing in Pro Tools, not a good idea. FL is used mostly for making beats, which is a new concept of about 5 years ago. I was like, I don't know what that means. You know, I've been mixing in DAW since as far back as '96, the Cakewalk, and when FL came out in '98, and then Reason came out 2000. Pro Tools was even Pro Tools till 2010. Um, so the other thing is like, you know, Pro Tools is really good for recording for sure, because you can do HDX, you know, word clock, keep what do you call it, delay compensation on, really good for recording in a studio. If any of those people that have used MIDI or plugins, especially plugins, making electronic music, you know that there's a delay. You have to start right on the beginning of the measure. You know, it can't be in the middle because of the whole delay where your plugins are not triggering, MIDI's not triggering sound. But it's all, Pro Tools is probably number one for mixing, for sure. For mastering, unless you're using a plugin for that, that would be Sequoia. We're talking about really expensive plugins, $1,500. Another $1,500, you know, $1,500 for Sequoia. Another $1,500 for Isotope RX to clean it up, spectrographic, EQ, all that kind of stuff that works with it. Was able to get more involved in tuning vocals with auto-tune. Melodyne is probably the best one. Was on sale actually for $250 for during holidays, but I didn't get it. But I'll be working more on probably other artists and stuff like that. Maybe collaborating with some artists that I might have met at Full Sail when I was going there. So I'm kind of working on that. Still have the hair, of course. It's been more changed with the dyed black. Huge fan of George Lynch in the 80s. Dokken, lead guitarist from there, had his hair like that. It's not the Kajai Goo Goo band where he had his hair like that. I think it looks better. It's healthier for my hair and stuff like that. So I will be looking into getting those masters done, putting out these other two albums that have not been out. But like I said, you know, using a linear phase EQ, setting it to digital, boosting, notching filters on a stereo bounce or a mix, and allowing it to do that without affecting the entire overall output of the mix by using a nonlinear phase EQ, which is, I mean, they're all parametric, but basically, like, when you're using that, it's going to create kind of phasing issues. So it has to have one that introduces phase and individually pull to make a curve for mastering. I'll get more into those types of things from my past experience producing and mixing and mastering, and then obviously my bachelor's degree in audio engineering. Difficult time, Full Sail. You know, you're taught to do it a certain way, or you from somebody, or you learn your way. Works. Instructors are like, hey, can't do it that way. I take points off, but I understand what you're saying. What you did before and doing now, and when after you graduate is fine. I'm trying to teach you the fundamentals and the concepts. It goes back to this, like when I would do things and it sounded absolutely amazing, it was difficult to explain why that worked. So when you're going to school for something you love, you start to learn about why you do it this way, why it sounds good, even if you're not allowed to do it in the class because it takes, you know, you have to do it a certain way. So that's probably one of the most important things as an engineer is to, when you're working with a producer or an artist, you know, that when you do something to explain why, you know, you did it. So that way, because I hear that a lot, well, it's because it sounds cool. Well, yeah, but it's like, why, you know? Less creativity with recording engineers and mix engineers than it is a producer. The internet, as the Google AI has described me as musician, music producer, audio engineer, produce, record my own tracks, and also master them as well, which is true. But like I said, mixing the box is something I've been doing since as far back as 95, 96. Reason had an issue where it wasn't until Reason 5, no, it was Reason 9, where they allowed you to use third-party plugins, because I'm not sure if they were forcing people to use their plugins, which they are amazing. But Reason has an output that sounds very clean. I think it sounds better than Logic over here. Haven't done it with Pro Tools yet. You know, comparing the same songs, flipping the polarity of the song, this on 2 different songs, playing to see at the same time to see how well they are. Um, FL is not that clean, and for those of you who use FL, it's not an insult. It is just an opinion about it, and no, it's more so of a fact. It's just the overall output is not as clean. I had talked to a recording engineer, Full Sail, not going to mention any names, and she told me her opinion about FL to another student when I was auditing a class this month, because I like to work in the studios. It's a good environment for, get rid of the depression and stuff rather than just mixing in a box all the time, about how FL has a stereo imaging problem. It's very garbled. I always have to put a stereo wider on there immediately, and a compressor, because it clips really hot. And when you start producing it, it's fine. I personally am not going to mix an FL. I'm going to do a track bounce out of there, drop it into Pro Tools, and mix it from there, because it's good for making beats, but it is not good for producing an entire band or recording or mixing it. I mean, each DAW has its own thing. That is where things are pretty much at the moment. Just spending a lot of time in the box, sitting here in the studio of mine, just working on stuff, and trying to move more away from putting out albums as Syndromia, since there are a lot of albums that are there, and move towards a different type of artist name and a different type of thing, adding more, actually adding guitars, vocals, and stuff like that. Maybe do a little bit of some retro 80s heavy metal or something, and start working more in other people's studios that I know that live around here, and not do so much as pure electronic music, which a lot of people think is a lot easier. Yes, to a degree, because nothing's being recorded. It comes straight out of the DAW. It's not going into the DAW from whatever the sound source is at, which is completely different from synthesizers versus a digital audio signal versus an analog one that's converted into digital, which is in the DAW. Analog doesn't have latency, digital does. Digital records audio as PCM, pulse code modulation. That's where you get that thing when you bounce it in a WAV file. Analog is the pure signal. It's unlimited. So it has a lot to do, like compressing, bringing up the noise floor. When you end up doing that with a synthesizer, it's going to be different when you're gain matching than it is with an original analog signal like guitar, where you're bringing up all this background noise from the noise floor up. Compressors make quieter things louder and louder things quieter. A lot of things that are louder quieter, and a lot of quieter things louder. So there is a difference between those who are recording like all heavy metal versus I record EDM. I don't think a lot of hip hop tracks or EDM is like easy thing to do, and I record real music with real artists. It's just a different thing. Electronic music, synthwave, EDM that I've done before in the past, it's mixed different. Every genre of music is mixed, just genre specific, is even produced differently. So there is a difference on how that stuff works. I mean, for using dynamic compressions, time-based effects, it's going to be different. You don't have to time your time-based effects, milliseconds for reverb, 60,000 divided by the BPM is 4/4 time. Get the millisecond, and a quarter note value for reverb. A lot of EDM doesn't require you to be right on the key. With dynamic processing, there's no gain matching, in my opinion. I mean, you can compress something really hard and then over compress it, the output, and just bring up the coloration, kind of like using a compressor for a gain plugin. Side chain compression, completely different in EDM than it would be like for heavy metal. So that's what I'm getting at. I mean, I can go on forever about audio, as much as I can about, music composition and stuff like that. But there were a lot of people who had asked me about my music background, just something that I don't really talk about, other than, I got a degree at Full Sail. Did I get a degree somewhere else? Some people that I knew personally were asking those type of questions. Ex-girlfriends, Googling me, all that kind of stuff. I had one instructor that said, if you want to copyright your music, in one class I was taking a couple years ago, you have to be a citizen of the United States, originally born here, and there's rumors that I'm from Europe or born in the UK. That will be explained a little bit different in another video, why people suspect that or read something about that, about me. You know, why do I have a slight accent and all that kind of stuff, even though it sounds more West Coast. And I'm on the East Coast, so no one gets it. But still have the hair, still rocking the image, still doing stuff. Just at the time going through a lot of time, being completely honest about what's going on. But yeah, just working on stuff, and hopefully when I get around to it, you know, I can get all those albums out remastered. There are some production changes, good ones. So yeah, it's just bringing up the session, working through it. Automation set, got to move stuff individual on the faders. As you can see, the automation lines here were much of a problem that I don't want to delete it and rewrite them again. That's why it's done last, like after you do effects and stuff in your workflow process as a producer or an engineer. So that's pretty much it. Just throwing it out there, you know. I wasn't putting out a lot of videos, so that's what's going on, and I really hope that everyone understands that the issues that I was having, I mean, it's life, and why I hadn't put out stuff. So thanks for you guys listening to my music, appreciate it. Thought my fans, why am I even doing music? You know, it's about sharing my music to other people. It's not about me. And that's kind of like where I stand and all that. So Happy New Year to all you guys. 2026, you know, great year for music, for anything. Just, you know, for those of you producing and mixing out there, go ahead and go at it. I'm on Facebook. I got a lot of friend requests, you know, friends on there, thousands of people. Always asking or always answering questions to people or about Logic, Pro Tools, or mixing and all that. If you guys ever have a question about any of that stuff, as a musician, music producer, audio engineer, any questions about DAW or plugins, you can always send me a message. I'll try to get back with you and explain it very well, as much as I can. Of course, like I said, half of this is art, half of it is science as an engineer, and there is no right answer to mixing or mastering. It's all if it sounds good, and it has a lot to do with everyone's got a different opinion. I mean, there are some good engineers, producers that I've talked to, I'm saying mostly engineers, who 5 of them can be in this room. Amazing guys who've done stuff for, you know, Ozzy Osbourne, Marilyn Manson, all that kind of stuff, that, you know, EDMs, all that kind of stuff, music. And all 5 of them have a different answer. And you're like, which one is good? Well, it depends on what you're doing for yourself, but there is no right answer. Okay. And there are some people that will say, that's how I do it, that's the way it is. And I don't want to get into the whole ego issue with people in the music industry, but you know who you are. I know I do it too. But so that, yeah, just throwing it out there, and hopefully you know, you guys are going to enjoy the remasters and other stuff that to put out soon. So see you guys later, and you know, Happy New Year. Later.